The privacy meta is still extremely hot. Privacy altcoins are doing extremely well. We talked about 3 of them about 3 weeks ago, and Zcash has gone from less than $200 to $450. Neptune Cash pumped about 50% after that video, and the likes of Railgun went from about $3 or so to $5.50. So those have done very, very well. Railgun has kind of come back down after that hype cycle portion that occurred very early with Zcash blowing up. And then Neptune Cash, I talked about it very last in the video due to the fact that it is still under development. It is still an up and coming project. There's still a lot of things that haven't been done that it's planning to do. So it was just one to at least keep on the radar. But if you were, maybe you have a higher risk tolerance and you wanted to get involved in that, then you did quite well. So either way, we're going to talk about what is the current strategy behind privacy meta, because there's others that we've talked about, the likes of Dash at $40 all the way now to nearly $100. There's a lot of opportunity, and we're going to talk about that opportunity in today's video. If you're new here, my name is Alex. We talk about crypto news, crypto passive income. If you enjoy content like that, consider subscribing. If you enjoyed this video, smash up the like. Without further ado, let's end the video. We're going to be looking at 3 specific altcoins in today's video as far as privacy coins specifically. Kind of look at where they are right now from a technical analysis, see is there more upside opportunity, and then towards the end highlight some of the other higher risk altcoins that are in the privacy niche that may need 1 or 2 things to kind of go right in their direction before we could see really big moves potentially. And some of these are still going to move regardless if some of the bigger ones out here like Monero, like Zcash, really continue to trend upwards. So let's first talk about the likes of Zcash. Zcash talked about this like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, so I was a little bit late to the game. I got in around 190, 195, posted this, and kind of seeing the trajectory, seeing there's going to be a next resistance at 200, kind of just seeing the different resistance levels, and we just kept breaking above them. And now this picture in this image really does no value, because I really expected a peak here at around this prior all-time, or not all-time high, but prior high that we saw in 2021. This is June of 2021, right here, right before we get to July. So for those that remember that were around in 2021, this was a crazy, crazy month. Bitcoin also hit, I think, around 65,000 in June of 2021, and then we had that peak to 69,000 in November. So expected that to kind of be a huge level of resistance, and we've honestly just smashed right past that. But when we take a look at Zcash more right now, where is Zcash potentially headed right now? Well, surprisingly enough, Zcash has held up quite well, even though Bitcoin has broken down, and Bitcoin's fighting to stay at 110,000. When you take a look at Zcash, it peaked all the way. I took a trade, I posted it on X, and the fact that I traded with the expectation it was going to break past 400. We kind of saw this right here, where we saw this test of the 200 EMA, and then just seeing this straight support, and then kind of just seeing the momentum heading upwards. Zcash does very well using its exponential moving averages as far as support levels. So if you zoom in on here, this 200 EMA, this is on the 1 hourly chart. So, I mean, this did very, very well, stayed and then broke above that. We saw close to a retest down here and then making a move right above that. So if we're looking for, an entry, you're probably going to be around the $375 to $385 range as a short-term entry if you're trying to look for a short-term trade. If you do expect a pretty decent market correction, I think we could maybe, psychologically, 300 is going to be a huge level of support. I don't foresee us ever going to that if everything continues in a more bullish trend. Obviously, if Bitcoin drops below 100K, that's going to change the entire narrative. But if the privacy meta and the privacy narrative continues to trend upwards and continues to stay hot, you're going to see people taking profits. You're going to see levels being retested, but more likely than not at higher lows. And this is essentially what it is. You've got higher lows in one instance, another higher low in this instance. So we're starting to see a pretty good upward trend. Now, Zcash from a long-term perspective, outside of short-term, it's really hard to kind of gauge what is their ceiling for the likes of Zcash, because the only thing that most of us and many that are watching this video never even experienced, back in 2018, right here, January of 2018, Zcash was at $703. Majority of people weren't in crypto in 2018. I was in crypto, but I wasn't in Zcash, and I was in Bitcoin at 2017, but I was not in Zcash. So, for a lot of people, they don't even remember what this is, and this is kind of, even more hazy back to 2016. We're talking about almost a decade at this point. So I think realistically, you kind of have to just take this on a daily basis. There's a lot of people posting for Zcash and pushing for Zcash to go to 1,000. Maybe that's realistic. I think psychologically 500 is going to be a huge level of resistance. And then obviously this level, this all-time high that we saw in 2018 around the $700 range, also going to be a huge level of resistance. I think the main resistance areas, and this has also become levels of support. Same way 300 was a level of resistance here, then became a level of support. So you're going to kind of have to see how this plays out. Right now, maybe we're starting to see the $400 level become a level of support, and now maybe we're going to go to 450, 500 as new levels of resistance. So want to keep your eye on. I think there's still plenty of fuel in the tank. There's still a lot of people who are very bullish on the likes of Zcash, but I think there are better opportunities out there, and that's why I talked about Dash. Dash, this is when Dash was at $44. So Dash is one. Also in the privacy matter, what's also interesting with a lot of these privacy coins is their proof of work. So you can mine Zcash, you can't really mine it with a CPU anymore because of Bitmain's new, or not necessarily new, but Zcash became ASIC mineable. So a lot of these ASICs are actually very, very profitable right now with this massive move. A lot of ASICs, you can't really mine Zcash with a CPU anymore. Gotta kind of have to go the ASIC route. When it comes to Dash, also a proof of work cryptocurrency mineable via Bitmain ASICs, your D9s out there. So, and you're starting to see new models popping up as profitability for a lot of these proof of work cryptos continues to increase. You're going to see new models and stuff like that come out as well. So I talked about this, $44. Dash has done tremendously well. And I think it's in a very early stage to a close beta play to the likes of Zcash. Now, I don't think it has the type of momentum and the type of posting and the type of individuals on X pushing the likes of Dash the way that Zcash is being pushed by some, people that have 600K, 700K, 800K followers on X have a little bit more momentum in the price swings when there's constant followership of their cryptos that they talk about getting pumped. So, and I'm not saying that one individual or all of those individuals are the sole reason for this growth, but they are a contributing factor. So Dash has done very, very well. I talked about this, that there's going to be a huge level of resistance around $75. As this was prior resistance, we had that and then it broke above that. So you can see we actually retested this right here. We're kind of coming up to it and tested this back here in December. Came here, if we zoom in on this candle, now this is the daily, but this is kind of where we peaked, right around the $75 range. And then now we're breaking above that. So there's really no other areas of resistance. I think $100 psychologically is going to be a level of resistance. But then at that point, there is the sky is the limit kind of mentality. But we do have a little bit more short-term upside that we've seen in 2021, same time frame that we saw Zcash pump June of 2021. This is in May of 2021. We saw the likes of Dash go to $476. Now, the one thing you do have to understand is emissions size for these cryptos. So just because the price doesn't match always the fully diluted valuation or necessarily the market cap. So when you think about market cap per se, the market cap of Zcash in 2021 was at 3.5 billion. It's double that. Even though when you look at from the price perspective, it's not necessarily at $600, right? So some things to consider because they have an emission scale. These are mineable, so there is emissions. Same thing with Dash. When you look at market cap, the market cap of Dash in, let's just see, in all time, was sitting here at about 11 billion, sitting at about 1 billion. So there's still a 10x upside, but that would be Dash going to $880, a far cry from where it was at, back here at 1400 in 2017, but more specifically here at like 350, right? So we'd be going to 880, not 350. So something to consider. Just because the price doesn't mean the price is going to match the same price. You have to look more at market caps. But I think there's still plenty of opportunity when you look at market cap. 11 billion, the market cap back here at 4.5 billion. That's a 4x from here, and an all-time high at close to around 11 billion. So plenty of upside. Short term, if we're comparing to 2021, that's where we kind of saw Zcash blow past. We could maybe see a similar move in Dash, but that would take the entire privacy meta really, really exploding. And I think a part of that is going to be needed by the likes of Monero. Monero has simply just been underperforming a lot of these other privacy cryptos. If we go over to XMR, you're going to see the fact that Monero is up a little bit, but it just is not. The likes of Zcash has now surpassed Monero in market cap, but you can just see in just the past year, yes, it's up 126%, but over the past month where we've seen the likes of Zcash, for example, over the past month, Dash is up 177%, Monero is up 6%. It's a very, very vast difference, but you also have to think about the market cap of Monero being up 157%, would also be a $12 billion market cap. So some things to consider, but once the bigger market caps start moving like Monero, which I think Monero could very well break out. If it starts to break out past this $400 range, this could be a huge, huge move where a lot of these other privacy coins also move along with it, especially some of the smaller ones, which we're going to look at. But the other one that I do want to focus, we talked about Zcash, talked about Dash. I do want to talk about Horizen because it is privacy coin on the likes of Base. And Base is gaining a lot of traction. Obviously, the rumors about a Base token, maybe a Base airdrop. There's a lot of interest behind something like that. So if you consider a lot of Base type cryptocurrencies, and you're looking at a privacy coin that is a leading privacy coin on the likes of Base, Horizen is probably going to be your number one choice. Overall, not a ton of dilution that's going to be happening. Volume is very strong. Market cap is pretty solid. It's not, sub 100, not sub 50. And when you're looking at the growth, you kind of saw this bottom down here from $6.50. Now we're at $17.5. The all-time high for this is close to around $40. So there's a lot of upside even now for the likes of Horizen. And that would just put it at 600 million. Is still very, very small compared to some of these other tier one and blue chip, I would say, privacy cryptos. So one to maybe consider, it's obviously on a ton of great exchanges, Binance, Coinbase. So it's already got a lot of these major listings. It's got a lot of the great criteria. And if the Base meta heats up, if Base airdrop comes out, if Base token comes out, this is one that's definitely going to rally as long as privacy meta is still hot at that time. So something to definitely consider when you're looking at some of these. That said, those are really the three I want to highlight, three that to keep an eye on. And all of these are going to be kind of contingent on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin, and to a certain degree, if Bitcoin just bottoms out, everything is going to fall alongside with it. But if the privacy meta stays hot, you're going to see some of these rebound very, very quickly compared to some of these other altcoins that are out there. Now, a few that I want to highlight that have gained a lot of traction. ZK Sync recently got a huge shout out from the likes of Vitalik Buterin from Ethereum. And they've done a lot of upgrades to also not only increase their TPS, transactions per second, but also to key in on RWA, tokenization, and privacy. So you're going to see some of these that also a rising tide lifts all boats. Something like ZK Sync could rise as well. I'm talking about Monero. ZANO is another one that ZANO, just from a marketing standpoint on X, they simply just don't have it when it comes to the compared to some of these others. They just don't have the type of publicity and the social media spark, if you will, to gain a lot of attention. They have a great quality product. They do a lot of really, really cool stuff. They just don't have the pizzazz when it comes to what is sometimes needed to gain and garner a lot of attention on social media platforms to get a lot more people looking at what they're doing. It's also not on some of your bigger exchanges. It's not on Binance. It's not listed on, Coinbase. So it's not going to get as much publicity and attention. But I think ZANO has a lot of opportunities. One of those, it's not necessarily microcap, but it could rise as we see some of these other altcoins rising in the privacy meta. And the other one that I want to highlight that really started gaining a lot of traction is called Anyone. Now, Anyone used to be aTOR, for those that remember back in the day. And aTOR, this was when the privacy meta started kicking off from 39 cents, went all the way to 65 cents, 67 cents, about an 80% gain in the course of a week. This was very phenomenal. And it is a proof of work based type of cryptocurrency. It's in fact a hardware device that you can run. I have mine currently running where you can earn rewards through it. So another privacy focused cryptocurrency. It is on the smaller scale, so market cap size relatively small. Also, ZANO is actually a hybrid proof of stake and proof of work model. So it's going to be the one thing that you're going to see with a lot of these altcoins in the privacy niche. Proof of work is a huge proponent to some of these as well. But would love to hear your thoughts. There's a lot of privacy type of cryptocurrencies out there. These are just some of the ones that I want to highlight. They're in the proof of work space, which is a proponent to some of these gaining a lot of traction and notoriety. But it is interesting, some of these, as the overall privacy meta continues to increase in attention and overall use. Love to hear your thoughts on this entire meta. Is this short-lived? Is this going to be long-term? Are we going to see continued highs? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, smash up the like. You enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. Until next time, guys, stay invested.